they love the fact that they can move into a larger 3-bedroom house and their kids can have a bedroom each. Doug, how did you sell this house?
Well, I remember I did the viewing actually with this family. There was the parents and 2 young boys, about this big and this big. And before we went into the property, Bob was going to show them around the property. He was in there. And I said to the youngest boy, I said, you better run inside and pick out your bedroom before your eldest brother goes in. So he ran inside quickly. And when we got in there, went upstairs, the young boy was in the small bedroom. And he was there and he said, there's a bed. I couldn't believe there was a bed in the room. So obviously this young boy had probably been sleeping on the floor or on a mattress or something. So he said, do you think Bob would leave the bed behind for me? I said, I'm sure he would. If you go and ask him, he's in the other bedroom with your parents, go and ask him, I'm sure he'll leave it behind. So he ran in the other room and pulled on Bob's coat and said, Bob, would you leave the bed behind? Bob said, yeah, of course, I don't need it because I'm moving in with my sister. That's basically what sold the house. So the children bought the house rather than the parents. They made the decision. So it's all about emotion, emotive stuff, isn't it?
Parents bought the house, kid got the bed for free. A nice deal.
You got the bed for free. Let's do some numbers because we need to move
£7,000 up front, £15,000 cash flow. That's over a 5-year period. If the deal lasts for longer, we make more money. Okay, so, and a massive backhand profit, £20,000.
Click on, just posing, sorry.
Pose, look towards the camera.
Come on, let's get these numbers out.
Mr. Celebrity. So, £7,000 up front, £15,000 from 5-year cash flow, £20,000 at the backhand. Backhand is, ladies and gentlemen, the difference between how much we owe the lender on completion when our buyer decides to complete and how much they owe us on their payment schedule. So the difference is £20,000 if they complete it in year 5. If they last it for longer, we have greater cash flow, smaller backhand, but the total profits will be far greater.
So how much we made on this?
£42,000. How many of you would like to have a deal like that? Come on, once more, twice now.
Come on, how much did we
Say
pay?
hi!
Hi! How much did we pay for this?
Nothing.
How many tenants?
0.
How much did we spend on refurbishing?
0.
Do we ever do any refurbishing?
No, we stopped doing refurbishment. Builders hate us.
We're not builders. We're not builders. We don't pretend to be builders. We don't do any building work. If you want to be a builder, it's fine, but you know.
We let our buyers do the building.
Yeah.
Actually, this is a good example where this house needed some work and the buyer did the building job.
He did. This is another babysit, but this was another Bob, funnily enough, and Dartford in Kent. And he's a reluctant landlord. Been trying to sell the property for 8 months. What he wanted was he wanted the full price for the property. He had £15,000 worth of equity tied up in the property, and that's what he wanted. He wanted his £15,000 out to go off and do something with. So we said to him, Bob, if we can give you the price that you're looking for, if we can give you the £15,000 that you want, do you have some flexibility around the time scale in which we deliver you the money? And he said, well, I don't need the money straight away, so yes, I have some flexibility. So a conversation with him, he allowed us to babysit the property, babysit his mortgage payments, with a promise that we'd deliver the £15,000 to him some way down the line. So around a single document, again, we're now babysitting the property. We haven't paid anything for it. So we sell it on an instalment contract. Mesud's quickly going to give us the numbers so we can fit everything in this evening.
Bob was such a nice person. I still remember the days he was bringing us letters because we had a little tough lender with this one. It was JP Morgan. So they wouldn't allow us to babysit the house directly. So we had to open a joint bank account with Bob. So such a lovely person. All he wanted is £15,000. So we knew that this property needed a little bit of work. I mean, obviously the carpet was very old and the property hasn't been looked after very well by the tenants. So we advertised it only under £5,000 deposit. So we could have got a bigger deposit, but we said, okay, give us £5,000 and the rest of your savings, please save on improving the house. Change the carpets, paint the walls, change the kitchen and the bathroom. So we took £5,000 deposit from a nurse. Again, a couple that has been together for the last 3 years. They were thinking of getting married and they were moving away from a 1-bedroom flat in Lewisham to a nice 2-bedroom house on the edge of London. So here is the key. We agreed to pay Bob what he wanted, but we knew that his mortgage was very, very cheap. So we knew that we can make our money on the cash flow. So after we sold this property, £5,000 we took upfront. The monthly payment of our buyer was £807. So that gave us £480 net cash flow every month. So when we calculate that on an average of 5 years, that gave us £28,000 in cash flow. So we took £5,000 upfront. Again, we charged a slightly higher price than we agreed to pay Bob. We took £28,000 cash flow and a massive £37,000 back end. But from that £37,000 we have to pay Bob 15, so we got a net of 22.
You said how much we made on this?
55,800. How many of you would like this? Say aye.
Aye.
Once more, twice loud.
Aye. So how much did we pay for it?
Nothing.
And how many tenants?
0.
And we didn't spend any money on repairs or maintenance. So it's easy to, after many, many years of looking after tenants, I decide that it's a good idea not to have that problem anymore.
Well, we could have done the building, but they may have not liked the colour of our carpet. They may not have liked the way we did the wall. So they may not have liked our kitchen. So what's the point of doing refurbishment? Please give the opportunity to your buyer to do the refurbishment and do it according to their tastes.
Thank you.
Not
we are
yours.
recording this presentation, and if you would like a free recording, somebody's going to come round with some lists which you can put your details on, your email address, and we'll send you a free recording, completely free of charge.
Okay.
All you need to do is give us your details.
Could you just go again very quickly about the back end profit? I've understood everything, but the back end profit I don't quite get.
We're going to do another back end profit. I think we're going to do another back end profit,
Sure.
so we'll labour on that one,
Yeah, of course.
on the next one.
Yeah.
Mesud, what is a lemon?
Lemon is a property that you don't want to own. It's a property that usually it's either upside down, we call it. Basically, the mortgage outstanding on that property is higher than the market value. So if you sold the property today, it could be a property that you bought as a new build in 2007, 2006 at the height of the market, and since then the price has dropped, and now this property value is less than what you owe on it. So if you had to sell this property, it would cost you money. It's a bit like that. Just suppose this house is worth £100,000 and the mortgage outstanding is 110, and if you had to sell this property today, it would cost you £10,000 to get rid of. So what do you do with these properties? How do we make money from those? We'd like to learn that.
Give us another example of a lemon.
Okay, a lemon could be a property that is not necessarily negative equity, but could be in negative cash flow. What it means is the rental income is less than the monthly outgoings. So the mortgage, service charge and ground rent is more expensive than the rent you're getting. So it could be because the service charge is expensive, it could be because the rate is expensive, it could be because there is maintenance and ground rent charges on the property. It could be also a property that is just cash flowing at the moment, but if there is the slightest increase in interest rates, it would be negative cash flowing. I'll give you an example. Santander recently raised their standard variable rate from 4.24 to 4.74. That's a 0.5% increase. That created 70,000 negatively cash flowing properties all around the UK. So if you have a property at the moment and is vulnerable to rate increases, that is a potential lemon.
Show us the example.
This is actually an example that Doug owned before we sold our instalment contract. 525 rent, that's in Manchester, 1-bedroom flat. Monthly outgoings, mortgage, 545, plus service charge and ground rent of about £120 a month. So total outgoings 645, rent 525, £120, negative cash flow. Every month, £120. Every month, £120. How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel like I've just been served a lemon, actually.
What does that do to you?
You go out for a steak,
Yeah.
and they serve you a lemon, you know what to do with it, do you?
What does
So-
that do to you?
Well, it empties my pockets. So, I was going to ask the question, does anybody here got one of these? Or does anybody here know somebody else that may have one of these? Because you know there's a massive opportunity, and I thought it may only be in certain parts like Cardiff Bay or
Leeds Town Centre, Manchester Town Centre.
there's a lot of places up here, up north, that are like this. Leeds, there's a lot of new builds that went on in Leeds. I don't know if that was the same for Huddersfield. but there's a lot of new builds up this part of the country that were built pre-2007. I bought this one 2004. That are in negative equity, or even worse still, negative cash flow. If you haven't got one, you'll probably know somebody who has one, or if you don't, you can soon find out who has one and make a lot of money from it.
I'm sure you'll meet somebody very soon, because 1 in 5 properties in negative equity.
So we're going to show you an example of a lemon, which, as Mesud said, that is one of the properties that I own. This is a Manchester property on the canal in Castlefield Locks.
They call it Salford Keys. It's a posh name. You
Salford
can't call it a
Keys.
canal.
I don't know where they got that name, Salford Keys. Anyway, it was such a good deal that when I bought this, I bought 2 of them, and the developer very kindly gave me £12,000 cash back. So it was a no money down deal and £12,000 cash back. So I walked away with 24,000 and 2 properties.
What a fantastic deal.
I didn't even need to find a tenant.
Jeez.
What a great deal. So anyway, eventually I put tenants in there, but the problem is now, some years later, it's in negative cash flow and it's in negative equity. The negative cash flow is £120 a month. So every month I'm putting £120 a month out of my pocket just for this one. So I don't mind admitting that, you know, I feel as though I've been served up a lemon. So what do we do with this?
This actually was much more dramatic than he made it sound. It was a really, really bad deal. This is 1-bedroom flat. How much do you think this is worth? Manchester, 1-bedroom flat, town centre.
Nice done.
That's about right.
Well, yeah, there was a 1-bedroom, another 1-bedroom flat for sale for £99,000, and it wasn't sold. So I asked Doug, can you bring the folder from downstairs? Because we have another shelf full of folders downstairs, and asked him to bring the folder. When I opened it, £138,500 outstanding mortgage. Well, it's probably not worth even
Well, I did get
£99,000.
£12,000 cash back.
Really? Do you still have it?
Well, I spent that on the negative equity.
Cool. So I said, Doug, don't worry, we're going to sort it out. I do know how. So I said, Doug, we're going to put it on Rightmove. Let's try to sell an instalment contract. You never know. Okay, we put it down for £5,000, moves it in, no mortgage required, £807 a month. Nice 1-bedroom luxury apartment, Manchester town centre. Total purchase price 143,999. Quite a bit above market value, isn't it? Quite a lot above market value. Right. In 14 days, I had only 1 call, 1 viewing, 1 sale. That was very lucky. So a gentleman, he was a coach driver. He was driving a coach between Manchester and London regularly. So he didn't want to rent a place, he wanted to own his own place. So he loved the fact that he can move with £5,000 deposit and £807 a month. Ladies and gentlemen, write this down. This is the power of instalment contracts. That's the difference between instalment contracts and options. When you move a tenant buyer on an option, he is a tenant. You are a landlord, so you are responsible for service charge, you're responsible for ground rent. Okay? When you move a buyer on an instalment contract, they are a buyer. So they exchange contracts. After the exchange of contracts, they are responsible for the service charge, they're responsible for the ground rent. So all that negative cash flow created from those maintenance fees, now all of a sudden we turn it into £260 in positive cash flow, £120 negative to £160 positive. Over a 5-year period, £15,000 net cash flow. Okay, we won't have any profits from the back end, but we saved nearly £14,000. So total £20,000 profit. Potential loss of £40,000 turn into £20,000 of potential profits, and we have a happy buyer.
That's not all. Because the 20,600 profit that we made, if we add that to the negative equity that I had of £40,000, that means this deal was worth £100,000.
60.
60,000, sorry, 60. 40 and 20 is 60. It's been a long day. So it's a £60,000 deal, although I reclaimed my 40,000 and made 20,000 profit from a deal that I couldn't sell. There was no way that I could sell this property with 138,000 mortgage, and there was another one on the market identical for around 99,000. So there's a lot of these out there, hundreds, thousands of them. Every city centre throughout the country have got these properties. So if you haven't got one yourself, there will be plenty of people out there that you can mix with at these meetings that will have them, and now you know how to make money out of them.
How many of you think you can profit from lemons? We'll show you one more lemon, even better deal.
Well, this was crazy because we should never have taken this deal on, but it was an East London property, just by City Airport. And actually it was a friend of mine that was due to go to court to be repossessed. And we actually went to the court and offered the judge another £100 a month on top of the normal monthly mortgage payment in order to stop the repossession, which he accepted. So we just simply looked after the property, but it is a lemon because it's £65,000 in negative equity. 65,000 in negative. We thought, well, how can you make any money from that? But the interest rate on the mortgage with Mortgage Express was a 1.75% above base lifetime tracker. That's 2.25%. So the mortgage payment was really, really, really cheap. So we identified an opportunity there that we could make some real money out of this property. So again, we sold it on an instalment contract.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this property was worth at the time about 170, 175. Okay, the London market has picked up a little bit. Probably now it's worth more like £200,000. But at the time, they were selling about 175. And he had a mortgage of 239, nearly 240. So it was massively upside down. So, but we knew that because it had that great rate on it, we thought, okay, we're going to make a lot of money from cash flow, and we can probably use some of the cash flow to reduce the interest rate, to reduce the negative equity. Right. We took £7,000 up front, and we sold the property for exactly the same price. We had what was our mortgage debt. So we took it. That gave us £551 positive cash flow after we repay our arrears. Okay, we make £100 contribution towards the arrears. Over a 5-year period, £33,000 cash flow. We're already in year 3 in this deal, so we done it nearly 3 years ago. It was one of our initial deals. Okay.
So just to hear, because we've averaged 5 years, and each of these examples have averaged 5 years. Just to let you know that 5 years isn't the term for an instalment contract. An instalment contract actually runs for 30 years. But on average, they complete in 3 to 5 years. If you're selling a property to somebody who can't get a mortgage because they don't qualify or they haven't got a big enough deposit, in 3 to 5 years' time, they normally sort out their problem, if they know what their problem is. Particularly if you introduce them to a good mortgage broker, let them sort their problem out. They'll come back in 3 to 5 years and they'll want to cash out early. They won't want to run for the whole 30 years. That's why we use the 5-year average. Sorry, Mesud.
£7,000 up front, £33,000 back end, nil at the back end.
So we made on this
£40,000.
£40,000, and we paid no money for this. We moved no tenants in. There's no repairs, no maintenance issues. And the buyer is looking after the ground rent and service charge.
Yes, sorry, just on that bit, you were saying you can get lending in 3 to 5 years.
We would expect, on average, the buyer that moves in who can't get a mortgage today, we would expect them in 3 to 5 years to be in a position to go to the bank and borrow the money or sell the property.
If the property is in certain negative equity situation, we may lock them in for a minimum period. So in certain instances, we may require them to go for longer than that period.
Right, so how do you get from the lending levels to the negative equity?
Because we always put them on a repayment basis, so they're always reducing the amount, and the amount they're always reducing. So at a certain point, obviously, they would have reduced it to a comfortable enough amount to borrow. But we're going to ask some more questions later.
We are. We've just been notified that we're limited on time because we started late. If I'd ask permission that we just finish just a little bit late so that we can get our whole presentation in, because we started a little bit after 9. In fact, it was 9:10, and it normally takes 55 minutes for this talk. So